What do you think of when you hear the word trigger? Many times it has a negative connotation that you become triggered with an emotional response in a situation. And that's true, and that happens to all of us. However, there's another way to think of being triggered that has a much more positive connotation. Being triggered to put our mindfulness skills into practice. One of the really difficult things when you're first starting to meditate is to remember to actually practice. Using a trigger can help you remember to stop and be in that moment. Be in the moment and be mindful. So how I started using triggers to be mindful, that thing, how it started and how it's going. So here's how I started. I wrote this poem. It's called Sunset, and it really was my aha moment, my opportunity to practice mindfulness. I use walking the dog to be my mindfulness trigger, to be in the present moment. And I'll talk a little bit more about that after I read the poem. It's called Sunset from 7 Mindful Questions, which was published in May of 2021. Sunset. I almost missed it. My dog, Oshi, wanted to go outside. It was not quite dusk, but yet it was twilight. I made small talk with the neighbors, walked around the front yard, and then I went to pull the trash can to the street. There I was, task-oriented, walk the dog, take out the trash, and as I turned with the trash can handle in my hand, and I looked up, I stopped dead in my tracks. There above me was the most beautiful colors of the sunset that took my breath away. I stopped in my tracks, handle in hand. I almost missed it. Looking up to appreciate, I saw the clouds were blue-gray, the sky was streaked with pink bands, and a bright streak of yellow sat near the horizon. The blue sky between the clouds was the blue of the fake sky, like the Venetian in Las Vegas. So that's where they got that color. The blue is real. It's not fake blues. And I'm seeing it. Totally out of my task-oriented routine, I began to walk Oshi around the neighborhood, mostly so I could appreciate the last moments of light. The colors changed and morphed so rapidly, I turned around toward the east and looked back at night. I turned around and looked off towards the west and again watched the pink streaks change, dropping lower and lower until the pink touched the yellow of the horizon. For 5 simple minutes, I took a pause to breathe and appreciate the beauty of nature around me. Red sky at night. Tomorrow's going to be a good day. And I was there to appreciate it. That moment of awareness of waking up and being in that moment, that's a trigger. And now I use walking the dog as a trigger to be more mindful and be in the moment. I enjoy walking with the dog outside. I hear all the little neighborhood sounds, trees rustling, birds. The little neighborhood cats come and visit us as we're walking, just being there and enjoying. Using walking the dog to be in the moment and not rush her and get back to work. That's one of my triggers. I walk her several times throughout the day and, having an awareness of that trigger, using that task to be more in the moment or, just taking a pause to have a few moments of mindfulness when you have a trigger task. That's really great tool to develop and grow your mindfulness practice. So how's it going now? As I'm walking the dog now, it's almost automatic that it's mindfulness time. And this is where I am consciously spending time being in my body, mind, and spirit in the same location at the same time. And that's really what the definition of mindfulness is. Now, when you're triggered emotionally, that can also be a trigger to practice mindful walking. In other words, walking to walk off your emotions. So if you've listened to or maybe watched the musical Hamilton, there's a part where Alexander Hamilton's son, Philip, dies tragically in a duel, true story, and the family moves uptown in Manhattan. I think they went all the way up to Harlem. And in the song, It's Quiet Uptown, Alexander Hamilton walks and walks and walks, and he's walking off his grief. The other way to use a mindful trigger is when you're experiencing those strong emotions, you can walk because there's power in walking. And when you have strong emotions, emotion, energy, and motion, emotions, get that energy out through walking. Moving along, walking and walking and walking and walking. And when I walk, I do process a lot of my emotions. When I lived in the beach house, I would walk for hours with the dog. And that really was a trigger for me to work through some particularly sticky emotions. So I found myself stuck at a point this week where I was getting upset and I was making mistakes. And I was just frustrated with myself, and I just had to stop. And I was feeling so strongly like, yeah, if I don't, if I don't stop right now, I'm going to slam this mouse down, which I've done because I'm frustrated with myself mostly. So I hopped up and I said, Oshi, we're going for a walk. We got to get out of the house. So we started around the neighborhood, and, just the act of physically walking to process that emotion. By the time I got back, I felt so much better. But having intentionally decided that this is the way I'm going to process this, I came back much better with a much better attitude. So there's several ways to use a trigger. Mindfulness is a form of emotional regulation. So, as you're learning mindfulness, you can use a walk as a trigger. There is mindful walking. It's hard to demonstrate when you're using Zoom, but you can use a walk to be with whatever arises in that moment and not pushing it away. So, I encourage you to pick something, an event, a behavior, whether it's, we all have patterns, someone is going to trigger you. So if you think ahead to what you're going to do when you become triggered in an event or an activity or task that you're doing, and having that clear intention, really set a clear intention that that's your trigger for mindfulness. Now, let's have a few moments of meditation. I invite you to take a few deep breaths and gently close your eyes. And as you sit breathing, allow whatever task you want to link with mindfulness as a trigger to enter your thoughts. Give yourself a minute to allow whatever task that will be your trigger to arise, and let's just allow it to occur. And let's take a nice deep breath and blow it out. And with the next breath, fill to the corners of your lungs and then blow it out. And as you are choosing your task that will be your trigger, remember that a trigger can also be used when you are emotionally triggered. So linking the triggering emotion to your mindfulness trigger. And think of the way that you will practice mindfulness when you are emotionally triggered. When that happens, you can use your mindfulness practice to work through those strong emotions. Just allow whatever arises to be. Don't hang on to it. Don't push it away. Just allow it to be there and observe, gently observe if it changes. Just acknowledge, hello, I see you. You're here with me. And with each breath, feel your strength in the present moment. And breathe. You may feel an emotion shift from whatever triggered you to a more positive emotion, like gratitude for your practice. I'm grateful that I have this practice to help me work through whatever it is I'm going through. And breathe. The intention of this short meditation is to pause during your day, using a trigger to remind you to practice mindfulness, using a walking meditation to practice mindfulness. And as we bring this meditation to a close, you can begin to wiggle your fingers and toes, maybe gently roll your shoulders. And when you are ready, you may open your eyes. Remember that you can take just a few moments, and that's all it takes, of being with the present moment, not pushing it away, just allowing it to be, and you'll get better at your mindfulness practice. So remember that throughout the day, whatever you choose to be your task trigger to bring your awareness to that present moment, just like when I turned and saw the sunset, I almost missed that because I was up here in my head. And having that trigger now when I'm walking the dog, that I am going to be here now with this, I consciously return to being there walking the dog, because I can let my mind run to the next task that I have to do when I get back in the house and get back to work. So bring yourself to the present moment with that trigger and don't miss your life. Thank you so much for meditating with me today. If you like this video, please click the like link, subscribe below, and follow me on Instagram or Facebook. You can check out my webpage for more free meditations and sign up on the homepage and they'll appear in your inbox. Thanks so much again for meditating with me. Every week there'll be fresh, free content.